Okay, welcome back to BronxTalk as we continue our conversations with the candidates running in the Democratic primary for New York City Mayor. Please join me in welcoming, hold your breath, Paperboy Love Prince to BronxTalk. Nice to see you.
Paper, yeah. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me. It's amazing to be here. So.
Well, I would ask you the same, and I will ask you some of the same questions I've asked other candidates, but you've got to explain this. Running for mayor with clown makeup, and he's got great shoes, got the shoes. But what is this about?
Well, a lot of people mistake it and think it's something about the Joker or something like that. This is about, one, I'm an artist. I'm an artist, and I've built a career as an artist, and New York City has some of the most artists of anywhere in the world per capita. So it's about representing that, but a big part is, I've been running for office, helping others to run for office and advocating for a lot of issues, and I've seen the corruption, I've seen the elitism that is in politics and how hard they make it for regular folks' voice to be heard. So it's honestly turned into a clown show where nothing is often getting changed. It's the same people just switching offices, and the money is what's driving things, not the people. It's the money behind the politicians, not the people. So, it's really in a lot of ways a clown show, and because of how I've so consistently called out the establishment politicians, the career politicians in the city and across the country, folks have called me a clown. And so I was like, you know what? Let's embrace that and show how much of a clown show it really is, and be a voice for folks that have felt kind of left out and felt like their elected officials are playing in their face.
Do people take you seriously when they may see you on the subway or see you walking down the block, and they say, well, here's a guy in clown face. That's one thing. But then they find out that you're actually on the ballot and running for mayor. Do they take it seriously? So
for me, what's currently considered a serious politician, I don't want to be associated with that at all. I want to break the mold and kind of usher us into the future. So it's okay to be ahead of the game a little bit on that front. And then the other thing is, if you look at the federal government, the folks in charge in the federal government, even if you look at our city government, the folks that are in charge, a lot of them aren't serious people. And when you look at the work that I've actually done, folks take me extremely seriously when they know that I have different styles and antics, if you will, but the work that we've done, the amount of folks that we've fed with our mutual aid programs, the clothing that we've given to folks, the computers and cell phones technology that we've done, the protests that we've led, it really speaks for itself. And my community center, which has been in Brooklyn for close to 6 years now, we've helped so many families that folks are able to see. Some folks don't get it. I'm gonna be honest, some folks don't get it and they don't take me seriously, but so many more folks are like, wait, I wanna hear what you have to say because it's time for something different.
So now we're gonna give you a chance to do that, and I'm gonna ask you the same first question that I've asked other candidates, and you've already begun to answer it. What is, in your experience, that voters should be considering as they make their choice on who to vote for mayor for the city of New York?
Yeah, I think one of the #1 things that stands out, especially in this election, is my consistency. My consistency in actually calling out the corruption that is going on in the city government. Right now, a lot of the electeds are trying to protect other electeds. And in New York City, it's such a Democratic heavy city. The government is filled with Democrats, so folks don't want to criticize other folks in the party to make them look bad, but then what happens is we don't move forward. So that's one thing I've done, but another thing I'm super proud of is our community center, the Paperboy Prince Love Gallery, which I started with my own funds, and I've helped to create other community centers, give away, like I said, lots of food, throw protests. We've even had been able to help folks in incarcerated individuals, families. So this is something that I think is like super important. And then how we look to the future, how we're not afraid to do things differently and look towards the future. Right now, the career politicians want to stay in office and just keep their job. They're not interested in having change now. I'm probably have more in common than with the average New Yorker than any other candidate. I'm probably closer in income, closer in experience, and just regular life, while these folks are, you know, pretty much out of touch, and they've been in office, and we've seen what they've done, and it hasn't been great.
Let's get into an issue then that Bronxites are very concerned about, and that is community self-determination. We've talked about don't dump on the Bronx for decades, and yet neighborhoods continue to deal with city projects that they didn't ask for. City proposed a cricket stadium in Van Cortlandt Park, which was rejected by the community, ultimately taken somewhere else. But there was a 2,200-bed migrant shelter put on Bruckner Boulevard without the consent of neighboring communities. We've had a filtration plant built in Parkland in Van Cortlandt Park, and that was, of course, objected to by communities. There's development, market rate housing, other facilities opposed by Bronx communities that host them. So what has to happen to let the decision-making go to Bronx communities rather than the powers that be at City Hall?
So the honest answer to this question is very technical and long-winded, and it comes from basically how these folks get in office. They get in office, and someone donates to them, and they have to abide by what they say, not what the average constituent says. And it's obvious in this race, if you don't raise over $200,000, they're not going to put you in any type of debates or things like that. So the importance of money is there. So that's one part. The other thing that I've said for a long time is we need to do stuff with the community, not to the community. And what's often happening is folks are having kind of an authoritarian attitude. They say, oh, we had a community meeting about it, but no one knows about the meeting. It's not well promoted. They move on. It's stuffed with their staffers and people that are paid by these elected officials, or these nonprofit groups that are, and special interest groups that basically are working for larger interests. So these are the things that kind of contribute to these issues. And one of the main things that folks can do is right now is get involved, be involved not just in election time, but all the time. And I'm so happy that BronxNet exists, because so many local media and newspaper organizations have gone out of business. So then that allows the local elected officials to go unchecked. They aren't called into question a lot of times, because the other ones, the New York Times and all that, they're focused on federal, and they're focused on the executive branch here. They're not focused on what some of our state assembly members, state senators, and city council members are doing.
I was going to editorialize and say that BronxNet Television would be the exception, because we don't look at how much money you've raised. If you're on the ballot, we invite you, and here you are. But let's talk about issues. Is New York City still a sanctuary city? Right now that ICE agents have been arresting migrants after their court hearings, and many people are discouraged from even going to those hearings. Children are discouraged from going to school because their families certainly are worried that either they will disappear or that they will not have a home to come home to. How does a mayor of the city of New York deal with that?
Yeah, so basically, New York is the front door of America, and something that I proposed is New York City statehood. When COVID happens or the migrant crisis happens, and it disproportionately affects New York City, not New York State, but specifically New York City. And we have one of the largest budgets as a city in the country. It's larger than most states' budgets.
$112 billion to be precise.
Exactly. It's larger than most states in America budget. So that alone could qualify us to be a state and to help better deal with this and have a better connection with the federal government. The state government has a lot of power over the city. There's a lot of, all the laws of the state usually take precedence over city laws. So, and there's been a contentious relationship with the mayor and the governor, obviously the mayor and the president as well, our former president and potentially our current president. So making sure that New York City has the autonomy to operate effectively and in the moment is super important. So that for me is something that's super important because it's going to be different every time when things happen. There could be a natural disaster or a war, and these things are going to likely continue to happen. So being able to address that with statehood, New York City statehood, would be amazing to me.
So rather than take Canada as the 51st state, you say, let's make New York City the 51st state.
Exactly, exactly.
Let's talk about crime, alternatives to crime. People people talk about what is really fueling what goes on our streets is the fact that children and young people don't have activities. You opened a community center. How do you fund those activities if you become the mayor, when right now a lot of those not-for-profits and maybe even your own community center are still struggling to find the kind of funding that helps you make the programs that really work?
Yeah, I mean, right now, see, that's where the crazy part comes out, is that folks have an opportunity to do something about crime, but they don't want to address the things that actually cause crime. And in our schools, there's so many beautiful students, so many beautiful families, and I get to meet a lot of them. And the biggest thing that we need is love and unity, connection. Folks need money, and that's a big thing they need. So as far as your question about the programs and how to best fund them, like I was just saying, we live in the richest city in the richest country of all time, and right now the priority isn't on funding the community. The priority is on funding what the city council officials feel is most important. And these folks, many of them have never held a normal job in a day in their life. Many of them are so out of touch with the average New Yorker, they don't know what programs would actually help. And then on top of that, so many of them were handpicked and placed there by the preceding official that it's caused a trickle-down effect of incompetence. And so to reverse that, we really have to root them out, because with these folks in there, I doubt that it's going to change, but there's so many great ideas. I meet so many New Yorkers with ideas for things that they want to do on the sidewalk, something they want to do in a park, at the beach. There's endless ideas from artists and teachers and coaches and parents, but for so long, we don't listen to them. We listen to folks that are put in place. And then this last part I want to say about it is they're put in place by elections that have historically low turnouts, where less than 4% of registered voters will come out in these primaries. So it's almost like they're elected not by the people.
So we've got about a minute left.
Okay.
I'm going to give you 1 minute. You are elected mayor of the city of New York.
Yes.
What do you do in the first 10 days, the first 100 days, to get the things that you're talking about started?
So the first thing that I would do is try to meet with as many community members as possible. I think that's what's missing. There's such a disconnect.
I mean, you could fill up Madison Square Garden, that would be one way to meet with, but that's 20,000 people.
Exactly, but it gives you so much more of a accurate view of what's going on in the city. So for me, that's super important, is talking to as many folks as possible. And then the second thing is unity, love and unity. We need to bring the city together with love, with unity. The people that are in office right now, they're focused on division. They're focused on polarizing sides so that they can gain more power. For me, I want to bring everybody together. It doesn't matter what race you are, what gender you are, how rich or poor you are, where you come from. We need to come together as a family, as a city, now. Not when a disaster happens, not when a more authoritarian politician comes along. We need to do it now, because that's what's humane. That's what it means about putting humanity first, putting love first, and, actually coming together. So for me, unity would be the number one thing. And from there, it's so much easier to get accomplished the things that would change the city for the better.
Your name is Paperboy Love Prince. You are representing that name perfectly here on BronxTalk. We appreciate your time. Good luck the rest of the campaign. Keep smiling, but apparently that's not a problem. All right, thank you very much for joining us. We'll take a short break, then we'll be back with another of the candidates for mayor. Don't go away.